So I don't know if you guys saw my puppy, but she is getting huge. Say hi. Say hi. Welcome back, everybody. This video we're going to be talking about whether you should use an if statement or a switch statement. So when I introduced the switch statement, I said there were some little differences between ifs and switches, but in general they can do some similar things. This video I'm going to go in a little bit more depth and just talk about the situations where a switch statement is not a good choice and you would want to use an if statement. But, sorry, I'm out of breath. But before I get started, I just wanted to tell you guys that I am actually releasing a C programming crash course. So it's going to be all of the content in this series, or maybe not everything. It's going to be the majority of this content in this series and maybe some extra condensed into a nutshell crash course video that is going to give you what you need to review everything in C programming that we talk about in this course, as well as prepare for any C programming jobs, or just to refreshen your skills if you know C, but you don't necessarily want to watch a 100-part series to refresh yourself. So be sure to check that out. I'll leave a link in the description, and hopefully if you guys want to pay me millions of dollars, it'll be a good, valuable tool for your education. All right, moving on. So the switch statement is good for integral numbers. Integral variables, I guess I should say. So integral means integer type. So that means you can't use a switch statement for a double, for example. So the first thing is integer data type. So that's oops, I wrote that in the wrong spot. Meant to write that up here. So here is switch statements. The first thing, you want to use it for ints. The second thing is that it's not suitable for ranges. And the third thing is that it's usually suited for a limited number of options. So you might be wondering, well, so far I haven't heard of any limitations of the if statement, so why would we use a switch statement? Well, that is actually a really good question. And honestly, there is no reason that you couldn't just program using if statements. There is nothing that a switch statement offers that is not possible with an if, else if, and else. That being said, personally, I believe that the switch statements are clearer for certain situations, such as menus, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But and also, you're going to run into switch statements when reading other people's code or picking up open source projects or whatever. They're very common, so it's important to know how they work even if you don't necessarily use them. But as a noob, as a beginner, you don't need the switch statement. So if you're overwhelmed with things to learn, you can just forget about the switch statement for now and just know that it exists and understand the if statement a lot more in depth. But once you got the if statement down, you're going to want to come back and learn the switch statement. So let's just dive into these a little bit more. So the first thing is it's for integers. You can also use character data type because if you guys remember from the previous videos that characters translate to integers by the ASCII table, so you can check that out, and I did videos on how to convert between the two. So this is suitable for ints and characters. Inside of a switch statement you have the cases and then you have a number. So you could say something like case 3, and then you put a colon. Well, this is one individual number, and it's not a range. So with an if statement, you can do something like this. X is equal to 5, and Y is greater than 10. So you can see two things in here. For one, there's two variables, and for two, we have a comparison operator. Comparison operators are not suited for switch statements, but only if statements. Switch statements just use one value for the case. Because of this, it makes the possible uses very limited. So usually with a switch statement, you'll have a finite number of cases and then possibly a catch-all default. But the finite number of cases usually correlate to something that each one has some kind of meaning. So a good example of this is a user menu. So when you're writing a console application, you might start the application and you might ask the user, hey, would you like to load a file, or would you like to, let's say it's a game, you could play the game from the beginning, or you could load a game, or you could save your game that you're working on, or you could exit, or you could look at high scores. There's a finite number of possibilities, and usually that is best represented with a switch statement where you can say, case 1, they enter the value 1, let's play the game from scratch. Case 2, they enter the value 2, let's load a game, and so forth. You can do the same thing with the if statement, but the switch statement is just that much clearer. So hopefully this video helped you understand a little bit more about what the switch statements are not going to help you with. And in the next video, we're going to be talking about some new stuff, so please be sure to check that out. And let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you, and I'll see you then.